Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're breaking down the sheer, unadulterated electricity of the 2026 USATF 100-meter finals. But hey, we're going way beyond just reading off the finishing times here. We're diving deep into the actual anatomy of these races. We'll be dissecting the high-stakes strategies, those crazy biomechanical splits, and the raw, explosive power that literally separates a world-class runner from a national champion. It's basically a masterclass in execution, resilience, and what it physically takes to push the human body to its absolute limits under the brightest lights imaginable.
So let's just dive right in and answer the biggest question in American track and field right now. Who actually holds the title of fastest in the US for 2026? To truly understand the gravity of these races, you really have to realize just how incredibly deep the United States sprint talent pool is. Statistically speaking, making it into a US final is often harder than making it into the actual Olympic final. The margin for error is literally zero. Earning this title isn't just about domestic bragging rights. It's about surviving a brutal gauntlet that instantly marks you as the one to beat on the global stage.
All right, we kick things off with the men's final. And wow, this lineup was so stacked it looked like a world championship heat. You've got the defending U.S. champion Kenny Kung Fu Bednarik looking to assert his dominance. Then there's Christian Coleman, stepping onto the track aiming to silence his critics and build on a massive semifinal performance. And we can't forget the incredible story of 32-year-old veteran Ronnie Baker. A lot of folks counted him out, but he's having an absolute career renaissance right now, proving age is just a number. And of course, the Olympic champion Noah Lyles. He arrived with a massive chip on his shoulder, super eager to prove he's back to full strength after a really frustrating injury-plagued season last year where he had to settle for bronze at Worlds.
Now, the second the gun went off, we immediately witnessed this brutal textbook clash of styles. Christian Coleman, who is globally renowned for having perhaps the most explosive drive phase in the history of the sport, got a phenomenal jump. Seriously, his block clearance and initial reaction time were just staggering. Baker and Bednarik fired out right there with him. But you know, the 100-meter dash is really a game of two distinct halves. It's not just about the chaotic, explosive energy of the first 40 meters. It's about the poise and mechanics required for the second half. And as we watch the field rise from their drive phase, the whole narrative completely shifted toward the ultimate finisher.
Here's a totally fascinating biomechanical secret about the 100-meter dash. Nobody actually speeds up at the end of the race. The winner is simply the athlete who decelerates the least. Pretty crazy, right? While his incredibly fast competitors were hitting their top speed and slowly beginning to tighten up, Noah Lyles unleashed a devastatingly efficient maintenance phase. His mechanics remained absolutely flawless. He didn't tense up at all, he just glided. In that final third of the race, Lyles tapped into a top-end velocity that literally nobody could match. Not Coleman, not Bednarik, not Baker. The sheer damage Noah did in those final 30 meters was an absolute masterclass in closing speed.
He crossed the line in a blinding 9.78 seconds. Now, hitting that number once in a lifetime is a legendary achievement in its own right. But for Lyles to equal his personal best, the exact same blinding speed he ran to win gold at the Paris Olympics, in another high-pressure winner-take-all situation, that is simply astonishing. It's a true testament to an elite nervous system and an unbreakable psychological focus. When he saw that time, his reaction was pure triumph. It was a massive statement to the rest of the world that his body is completely 100% dialed in.
When the dust finally settled and we looked at the podium, the veteran Ronnie Baker proved every single doubter wrong. He rode that incredibly explosive start all the way to a 9.88 second place finish, securing a profoundly well-deserved silver medal and pulling Bednarik right onto the podium with him. But the real heartbreak of the race belonged to Christian Coleman. Despite cruising through the early rounds, when the absolute maximum pressure of the final hit, his mechanics subtly broke down. He tightened up in those critical final 20 meters and ultimately faded to fourth, missing the podium entirely.
So the really crucial takeaway here is the immense historical weight of Lyles securing his third national title. In the fiercely competitive modern era of sprinting, managing to peak at the exact right moment to win the U.S. championship 3 times is exceedingly rare. It cements his legacy not just as a great runner, but as a generational talent who can consistently navigate both the physical grind and the mental warfare of this sport. I mean, he is officially back, completely healthy, and somehow running with more calculated precision than ever before.
Okay, let's shift gears and move over to the women's race, because this builds a remarkably similar, yet entirely unique narrative of triumph. The atmosphere in the stadium shifted completely when the incredibly determined 26-year-old Sha'Carri Richardson stepped onto the track. She just brings this aura, this laser-focused intensity that is palpable even through the screen.
Racing to be number one in the country is an exhausting burden, but Richardson arrived with a clear, uncompromising mission to reclaim her crown and showcase the terrifying speed she possesses right now in her absolute prime.
Just like we saw in the men's race, the start was a massive point of friction. Kayla White, running to Sha'Carri's left, executed a technically perfect block start. Her reaction time was sharper, and her low drive phase forced Richardson into an immediate deficit. Sha'Carri actually had to work her way out of a hole. But, this is exactly where her resilience truly shines. Once Richardson corrected her posture and truly hit her upright stride, she became a force of nature. In fact, biomechanics experts watching this race believe that if she hadn't been forced to play catch-up and had nailed a start identical to White's, Richardson easily could have dipped into the elusive 10.6-second range.
The broadcast commentary captured the sheer awe of the moment perfectly as she overtook White. The announcers literally lost their words. They just trailed off, because when Richardson transitions into her top-end speed, she is simply a blur on the track. The raw force with which her feet strike the track and propel her forward is unmatched by almost anyone else in the world right now.
She clocked a phenomenal 10.77. And to put that into perspective for a second, in the world of elite sprinting where races are decided by thousandths of a second, winning with a time of 10.77 is an absolute blowout. That massive margin immediately captured the world lead for her. This wasn't just a win, it was a loud, definitive warning shot to every other sprinter on the globe that she is getting stronger, faster, and more technically sound.
And this perfectly illustrates the deeply historic nature of her win. By capturing her third US 100-meter title, she enters exceptionally rare air. Check this out. Since the year 2000, only 2 other women have achieved 3 national titles in this event. That's the legendary Lisa Jefferson Wooden and Carmelita Jeter, who, for a long time, was literally the second fastest woman in human history. By joining this highly elite club, Sha'Carri Richardson moves past just being a current superstar and firmly cements her name right into the bedrock of American track and field royalty.
With our U.S. champions crowned in spectacular fashion, we have to zoom out for a second and examine the heavy psychological shift that happens next. Obviously, winning the U.S. championship is an incredible emotional high. But going from fiercely battling your own countrymen to suddenly carrying the weight of an entire nation on your shoulders, that completely changes the mental game. They now transition from being the hunters to the hunted, especially as we approach some truly massive, high-stakes international events.
The immediate next step on this timeline is the brand new, wildly anticipated Ultimate Championship in Budapest this early September. This is a high-stakes format specifically designed to pit only the absolute best against each other, with zero room for error. Sha'Carri is going head-to-head with fierce global rivals like Julian Alfred, setting the stage for an explosive showdown. And really, all of this serves as the ultimate, pressure cooker prelude to the main event, the LA 2028 Olympics, which are now astonishingly less than 2 years away.
So, as the clock ticks down to LA 2028, we are left with a pretty chilling reality. Noah Lyles and Sha'Carri Richardson are at the absolute peak of their powers, but they now have massive targets squarely on their backs. Can they maintain this incredible momentum and defend their home soil against a hungry, incredibly talented global field? Or will the immense, crushing pressure of a home country Olympics be the one thing that finally slows them down? Well, only time will tell.